Buenos días, mi gente de Rochester, y bienvenido a Su Hora Informativa. Mi nombre es Ida Pérez y para mí es un verdadero placer poder estar con ustedes en esta mañana. Su Hora Informativa es un programa que les trae información importante que esperamos que los inspire a una mejor calidad de vida para usted y su familia. Cubrimos información sobre los campos de salud, educación, empleo, vivienda y muchos otros temas más que nos afectan como persona y como pueblo. Su Hora Informativa está aquí todos los sábados de 10 a 11 de la mañana y nos alegramos muchísimo de que estén aquí con nosotros en el día de hoy. So I was just saying that, I'm glad that everyone is here with us this morning. And our program, just so that you guys know, we cover anything, education, employment, housing, anything that's affecting our community and that's going to help our community become better. And so that's really the purpose of the show. So I'm going to ask you both to introduce yourself, to tell us your name, where you're originally from, and how long you've been here in Rochester. And I don't know which one of you would like to start.
I can start.
Okay.
So my name is Dr. Shayla Johnson. I'm originally here from Rochester, New York, and I've been here my entire life.
Okay. Where did your family come from?
Oh, from here.
All
of
them?
my family is here.
Yeah.
I had some originate in the South, but
Okay.
majority of my family is here.
Yeah. And why here? Why do you think they picked Rochester?
I think it was for the job opportunities.
Yeah. And that's true. A lot of people came, for Kodak, Bosch and Lomb, factories like that. Okay. So all your life you've been here
My
in
whole
Rochester.
life.
No plans of going anywhere else.
Not as of now.
Okay. All right. All right. What about you, Dr. Christine?
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
Dr. Christine Richards. I'm actually a Rochester native as well, born and
Really?
raised. My family is from the South.
Mhm.
People often think that I'm from the South. I
Mhm.
guess it's that, Southern twang that still exists where I was never.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood. So, but my family is mostly from the South,
Okay.
Alabama to be exact.
Okay.
My parents actually grew up together.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm debating. I still have some years. I could decide to leave and come
Okay.
back, make Rochester the summer home if we
Mhm.
ever have a summer.
Right.
But so yeah, it's up in the air
Yeah.
still.
Why do you think your family moved from the South to up here, from the South to the North?
It definitely was kind of following other family and
Okay.
the same thing, right? Different opportunities.
Yeah.
I am definitely a Kodak baby. My
Mhm.
dad worked at Kodak
Yes.
for years.
Yeah.
And my mom owned her own state licensed daycare. So I think it was
Okay.
definitely following family and the job opportunities.
Awesome. I asked that question because a lot of people complain about Rochester, the cold, this and that, if we're ever going to have summer type of thing. But a lot of them, make it their home and, prosper well within our community. So that's why I always like to ask that question, because we all have something in common, right?
Absolutely.
And being here in Rochester is one of them.
Yes.
Okay, so we are here today to talk about a school that will soon, I'm assuming, be opening, right?
Yes.
So tell us about this school.
So I am actually going to be the CEO, principal of Green
Okay.
Tech Rochester, which is going to be Rochester's first all-boys elementary charter school. We are so excited to build a culture of nurturing, an environment where boys can be themselves. They can grow up to learn what that resilience looks like in a positive manner. And they can kind of be influenced and mentored by people who look like them, people who
Okay.
support them. And we're starting at kindergarten and first grade,
Okay.
growing out to fifth grade. We'll add a grade each year.
Okay. Why the name Green Tech? Where did that come from?
We were talking about this the other day. Someone asked that question. And quite honestly, it followed us originally with Dr. Paul Miller. However, for us, Green Tech really means, the technology focus, because we are going to be a STEM-based school, but as well as when something is green, is new, is growing, is living, right?
Mhm.
And that's what the environment we want to create for our
Yeah.
boys. So for us, Green Tech really means more of that growing and nurturing,
Yeah.
something new, also with that strong tech resilient focus.
Why all boys?
Oh my gosh, all boys. Research has shown that when boys grow up in a nurturing environment, right, they do better. They strive and they learn and they grow better. And I think for us, knowing that a single gender school, it gives them a safe environment to be who they are. I mean, we here in Rochester have so many other facets, right? We have all boys at the middle and the high school level. We have younger girls at the elementary level, but nothing for our younger boys.
Mm.
So it was time to do something different. We need to change the narrative. We need to change the trajectory of our boys. And so this is needed, and it was
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I read a lot of statistics of what happens to young boys, right? Especially, from the sixth grade up, where they, can start experiencing some challenges and things of that nature. I also have read that, they kind of look at the third grade level reading to kind of know what's going to happen with
Yes.
these young people
Mm-hmm.
in the future, and jail is one of them, right?
Yes.
That they look at how much jail capacity can they have
Mm-hmm.
based on the third grade level
Mm-hmm.
reading. And a lot of people don't know that, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people don't know why it's so important for all children, not just boys, but all children to be able to read at a third grade level when they're in third grade, right? Because
Absolutely.
at that point they have to read and understand, in
Mm-hmm.
order to answer questions on tests and things of that nature. The fact that you're focusing on boys
Mm-hmm.
is really important because they're the ones that usually fill up the jails, although we do also have a high level of females, but we see it more in boys. I mean, was that some of your thought behind creating the school?
Absolutely. We wanted to create that safe environment so they can learn to be themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we also want to make sure we provided individual support, cultural responsiveness, right? When you talk about that third grade reading level, like it just makes my heart, ugh,
It hurts,
right?
it
Because,
hurts.
and they do, because
Yeah.
so many of our young people don't realize that they are being judged, right? And they shouldn't be, because when our children come to school, they come to school to learn, and they come to school excited. No one starts off their career
Right.
going, I don't want to go
Yeah,
there.
you don't want to hear a
right?
kindergartner or a first grader saying, "I don't want to go to school."
Right.
Usually, they're excited about
They're
going to school.
excited.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happens? Where
Right.
does that shift
Right.
occur that now all of a sudden they don't want to? And we have to get to the point where we don't just want them to read on grade level. We want them to be above grade level,
Right,
right?
right,
So we
right.
can start out with them maybe at bare minimum being on grade level, but when we get them, nurture them to
Yeah.
be above grade level,
Yeah.
then there's nothing they can't do.
Right. Will this school consider anything for the summer? Because I know that summer lost, again, something that a lot of parents don't realize or understand, that all children lose some summer learning, right? Whatever they learn throughout the school year, they lose some of that during the summer. And so they come to their grade, their grade that they're going to go into with some lost. And so teachers kind of have to start a little bit over, do some refreshing, that kind of thing. Is there anything for the summer that you guys will be offering, or you haven't gotten that far?
We talked about it, but we haven't really gotten that far as planning.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right, because we know even adults, right? We lose retention as far of information over the summer is real. But we would love, and looking at what that extension of the school year looks like, even if it's a combination of some learning and some play. Because again, we don't want our students to never have play.
Right,
learning
exactly.
is supposed to be fun, right? I love going to school.
Well, that you learn through play.
You learn through play, and you learn when you're in an environment that keeps you happy and you're excited.
Yeah.
So we would love to do a combination, but definitely that's something that's on our radar to look at some summer offerings.
Yeah. My other question is, what kind of support? Because, we're talking about boys, which can be complex within itself, right? I mean, boys do tend to have more issues, more, especially depending on what environment they're coming from. What kind of support are you going to have for these young men or these young people when they join your school?
Well, we're definitely looking at that social emotional learning.
Yes, which is huge, right?
Huge.
Social emotional and emotional intelligence.
Right,
Yeah.
the whole child, right? We're looking to work with not just the children, because you can only do so much if you're not working with the child and their family.
Right.
So it has to be the whole child connection, so that, counseling support, that mentorship support, having people in the building, males especially, that look like them, right? That they can that represent them, that they can see themselves in, as well as now the female support, right? But excuse me, again, people who look like them, people who've come from their neighborhood. They may see them in the grocery store, they may see them walking down the street, they may see them at church. So we definitely are going to front load a lot of those supports and volunteer opportunities and mentorship opportunities for adults. when we start off through the door.
Yeah. So what will your curriculum look like? I know you're concentrating on tech, but what other things can these people look forward to?
Well, that's a good question for our Director of Academic Growth,
Oh,
who
okay.
is
All
Natalie
righty.
Johnson, who's with me today.
As far as curriculum, we're still exploring options, what'll be best for our little boys,
Mhm.
especially with the STEM focus.
Mhm.
And so where I come in with the curriculum is making sure that teachers are well developed and equipped with all the resources necessary
Yeah.
to get our boys to that level where they need to be prepared at third grade,
Mhm.
because we don't want them to be included in that preschool to prison pipeline.
Right.
We
Exactly.
want our little boys to be reflected as the little boys that are going to go to college or whatever their plans are beyond high school.
Mhm.
So for curriculum, yeah, we're
Yeah.
definitely going to make sure that our students they're playing, they're enjoying school. We want them to look forward to coming to school.
Mhm.
So we're not necessarily, what everybody thinks the typical charter school is. When you think
Mhm.
about charter, you think about
Mhm.
structure, you think about everything opposite of a traditional public school.
Right.
But we want them to have that love of learning, but
Mhm.
also learning at the same time,
Yeah.
surpassing the
Yeah.
necessary standards.
You said you want them to enjoy coming. To me, I feel like still in kindergarten. Maybe first grade, and still even in first grade. I would say more in second grade. It could be more. More of a, sit down, do this work type of thing. But I think from kindergarten, to first grade, you still have to incorporate play and what they're doing.
We have to, and
Yeah.
based on their attention span, we have
Mhm.
to intentionally plan out what their day looks like.
Yeah.
Thinking about where they're coming from. Are they coming from preschool? Are they coming from daycare? Are they
Mhm.
coming from home care?
Mhm.
And incorporating that into the vision that we want to see when we
Yeah.
get visitors like you or like
Mhm.
parents. We want everybody to come in and say, wow. We don't
Yeah.
really want you to see gaps. We want
Mhm.
it to, actually feel like
Yeah.
every kid is on the same level.
Yeah. I visit a lot of schools, and, I see a lot of kindergarteners as well as first graders, and the setup of the classroom is all or like work at your table, work in small groups or whatever. But I don't see blocks. I don't see
Setup matters.
setup, the way, I don't see an easel board. I don't see a little family. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
feel like those things that are really important and really dominate the classroom in a preschool classroom. I feel that some of it, not all of it, but some of it should be in a kindergarten and a first grade
It should.
as well,
Absolutely.
right?
Sure.
Because once
Absolutely.
you do some very, intentional academic stuff, then they should be able to have some playtime
They
as
should have a
well.
feel for real life as well. What I
Yeah.
heard you say, in a
Mhm.
sense, is
Mhm.
that home and careers feel. So
Mhm.
when I was
Mhm.
in middle school, see,
Mhm.
the things that we receive late, our goal is to give that to our students early.
Early,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely. So, what are you doing right now? You're recruiting. Who are you recruiting for? Are you focusing on a certain area of the city? Are you open to county-wide? Like, how does all of that work?
We're doing a lot right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, starting a school from the ground up, I've been telling everyone, is a labor of love,
Oh, yeah.
because it truly,
Mhm.
you have to be passionate about this
Yeah,
work to do
yeah.
this. So we're in the process of, when we say everything, we mean everything. Like, I was
Mhm.
smiling because when you talk about the classroom setup,
Mhm.
I just had a conversation in a meeting that we're going to actually be extending this week about furniture.
Mm.
Like, what does it look like?
Yeah.
Flexible seating, and how do we
Yeah.
want the table? Do we want tables? Do we want
Yeah.
desks? Can they move?
Can they move? Can they get up?
Can they get up?
Yeah.
Can we rearrange them? Like,
And you're
all
gonna
of
need
those.
that with boys.
Yes,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff matters, right? And
Right.
and can we get some rolling whiteboards, right? And some
Mhm.
standing desks for the
Yeah.
teachers to move
Yeah.
around the room. Like,
Yeah.
all of those things are huge.
Mhm.
So we're in the process of doing all of those things as well. Getting approval for a
Mhm.
building, looking at the furniture, looking at the curriculum, looking at everything, right? And when do we want to start our recruitment timeline?
Yeah.
And where do we want to recruit? And where do we
Mhm.
want to recruit from? Now, that's for the staff. Absolutely. Right now, we're in the middle of recruitment and enrollment season for our students.
Okay.
So parents can go to greentechrochester.com. They can go from there to the enroll now, and it will take them to Good Schools Rock, where they would go on, set up an application, and it's almost like a common application you do for college, right?
Mhm.
Where all of the charter schools are listed. Parents can kind of peruse through, but then they can also select the school, which we want them to select Green Tech
Mhm.
Rochester for our
Mhm.
kindergarten and first grade boys. as their school choice. And that's where you go to set up your application. And once you've done it, you're a returning parent. It's not something you have to do every single
Oh,
year.
cool.
But it's a one-stop shop
Yeah.
for parents. So they absolutely can do that. And again, if you want to start out at greentechrochester.com, it gives you a feel for who we are and kind of what the website looks like and some of the things that we plan to have in place. And then you can go from there to Goose Schools Rock.
So what are the grades that you're starting with again? I heard
Kindergarten and first grade.
Oh, so just kindergarten and first grade.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many classrooms will you have for each?
We're hoping to have 3 kindergarten classrooms and 2 first grade. And then we'll add a grade each year.
Right.
So, again, with intention. We're intentionally starting out this way because we want to make sure that we get this right. Because again, our kids, our little boys' lives depend on it. So,
and then it'll be cool to see those kindergartners, because there'll be kind of like a cohort, right? That'll keep moving from grade to grade, and then you could really see the progress of those students. If they stay with you the whole time.
Absolutely.
How many students per class?
Well, so the attrition it varies, right? But if we're looking to hopefully start out with 150.
Okay.
Max. So that means per 3 kindergarten classrooms, 2 first grade classrooms. And I know people can say that sounds like a lot, but we're also looking to have 2 teachers per room.
Okay.
So again, making sure that students can receive that individualized attention, that they may need, being able to, do group work with each other. And the hope is that we max out, but we are also realistic and we understand that we may not have, a full classroom of 25, students, but we definitely are shooting for having 3 full kindergarten classrooms and 2 first grade classrooms.
And 2 teachers.
And 2 teachers per
that's
class.
Important.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Along with support staff, right? Counselors and things like that.
So speaking of that, what kind of partnerships do you have? Because, you're going to find, you may find, wow, we need a social worker, we need a psychologist, we need, whatever, right? We may need a nurse, those type of things. Because depending on what the children bring, right, with them. So what kind of partnerships do you have already that you may have established that are going to be able to support the work that you do?
Well, definitely with the local colleges and universities in the area, especially if that's where I'm immediately coming from. The University of St. John's University is eager to get on board. So we're looking to make sure we have partnerships with all the colleges and universities, as well as we're partnering with some of the volunteer organizations. We're doing some work with the Head Start programs and the other child care centers in the area. And again, I kind of have some other mentoring organizations on deck. They're just waiting to push the button to say, okay, let's go.
Okay, we're ready.
We're ready. Like, we need you to come on in, and positively, do some impact work with our students. So we have various partnerships across the city, and we're hoping to, develop even more. The more we get the word out about who we are as Green Tech Rochester, that people would want to jump on board and, support in any manner that's possible.
You are starting at kindergarten, as Dr. Shirley Johnson had mentioned, you may end up with some children that never went to a child care or a preschool program, that kind of stayed at home with either their parents or grandma or somebody that's caring for them. So a lot of times those kids, you kind of miss, some things like, do they have special needs? Can they physically, are they well, fully developed, those type of things. So do you have some things in place that if a child needs to be referred, for special education or speech or anything, like, do you have partners like that that'll help you support that? Because you may get some kids that were just home this whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and we actually, so depending on the district that the student comes from, we will partner with their home district to make sure that, they get the services that they need. The referral will be made through that home district. So, and again, because we're open, there is no residency requirement. We are free. So there's no tuition, no scholarship. So students from all over can come and join us. And so depending on that home school, will depend on where we can help get those resources at minimum. And then we will look to, have additional partnerships where we can get additional resources in to support our students.
During this planning, have you had parents provide you some feedback? I know today in the community, I come from an early childhood background. I was the director for Ibeto's Child Care Center for 20 years. I worked for Action for a Better Community with a Head Start for 17 years. So my whole career has been on early childhood, but kind of the parent perspective had changed through the years, and there's a huge community out here that parents are saying nothing for us without us. Meaning that if we're not involved in the planning, if we're not giving you feedback, then it's not for us. Have you been able to do something like that? Maybe some focus group with parents or something of that nature where you are getting actual parents' feedback as to what your program is going to look like.
So in terms of organized parent feedback, not so much yet, but majority of our parental feedback is in person. So when we're hosting these recruitment events, we're talking in depth with parents, and parents are telling us, here's what we experienced at our last school. Here's what I'm looking for a new school. And so we're taking that feedback, we're jotting it down, we're brainstorming, and we're figuring out ways to implement what parents need as well as what their kids need in our program as well. And me, I'm a parent. So I have 2 little boys. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. I've also worked in education for 10 years in middle school. So I'm seeing it from the inside and the out.
Right.
So I'm also bringing, those parental feelings, that teacher feedback. I'm bringing it all.
Yeah.
And we were able to, prior to, right, you had to, even with the application to open a new charter school, you have to have some kind of support and focus group. So we were able to do that pre the approval. So in order to, make sure that the community was in support of. So absolutely, as Dr. Johnson said, we, we're doing that now when we do a recruitment events and things in person, but we were able to get that focus kind of group feedback early on. And we're looking to get, once we get set up and, ready to go, we absolutely are looking to have our parents involved.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in a lot of, involved with a lot of new projects, right? That are people that are starting something, and it has to do with children and their families. And, when I share these things, or I've gone with whoever's organizing this to different people to kind of say, hey, do you want to partner with us? The first question is, did you involve parents in the planning? So again, and I really like that. I like that nothing for us without us, because sometimes we think this is what parent needs, right, or whatever. It may not be at all, right? They may have other needs that now you have to address. And you don't want that to happen once they're there. You want to be prepared before they come to your school to be able to do those things. What kind of I know you talked a little bit about, support for children, but again, what kind of support or what expectations are you going to have for parents? Because I know some schools, and even us, when I was director at Ibeto, first day that a parent signs up for us, we already had some expectation of that parent, right? And during parent orientation, we would go through all these different, we expect your child to be in school every day. We expect you to have a backup plan. If you can't bring your child to school, who else can bring your child to school? Those type of things. Make sure that your child has a nightly routine, that they're going to bed on time, all those type of things. What are some of those things? What are some of your expectation, and also what are some of the support that you're going to be able to give parents?
Well, we definitely want to partner with parents, because we can't do this alone.
Right.
There's no way you can educate a child alone, right? And again, if you talk about the whole child perspective, you absolutely have to involve parents and family. So we absolutely will kind of go through some of those things with our parents, right? Because rituals and routines are huge. Because when you start them out as kindergartners, and even preschool, right?
Yeah,
before kindergarten, they learn those routines, they get used to those routines, and they build great habits, right? And we know that once you build a great habit, it becomes normal. It becomes what you're used to. It becomes a part of who you are and how you operate. So we definitely want parent involvement. We talked a little bit about what that parent group would look like, what the volunteerism will look like in the building, because you still have to also keep in mind that, right, it has to be something that can be, I don't want to say legal, but it has to be, the ability has to be there for across the board with all students. We have to keep everyone in mind, the other students in the building as well. So we would definitely want to have a parent group. We would love to be able to have some feedback sessions. I've done something in the past that I want to bring back that was kind of called, conversation with, Dr. Richards, or coffee with Dr. Richards, or tea with me, because that way it gives parents an opportunity to kind of come, sit, ask questions.
Or open door.
Right. Have those conversations and visit and,
Yeah.
tell me, and what is it? Let us know what your children are saying at home about school, right? Because that's another way that we get better.
Absolutely.
Because if they're coming home and they're excited about learning, and so much to the point you're like, wait, okay, slow down and tell me what you're learning, because the excitement is so much. Or if they're coming home and they're not excited about learning, why is that, and what's happening and what's going on? So we absolutely look to have parent voice and parent involvement within our building.
Yeah. What about transportation and things of that nature? Because that's a great need for parents. A lot of times they pick a school based on transportation, the hours, some schools can do a little bit of before and after that is free to parents. Like, what is that going to look like?
So when we do transportation, we will be working with the home district of the student. We're hoping, again, with the location that we're working to gain access to, is going to be kind of in the heart of Rochester, kind of downtown area. So it'll be easy for transportation for a parent who may not necessarily deal with like busing, because all parents don't like busing,
right?
But we do plan to work with each home district. That's how they would supply the transportation for the students. So based on whether it's RCSD, if you're a student from Greece, a student from Gates, a student from Arundiquoit, that home district will supply that transportation. So that's how it traditionally will be. And of course, parents are also welcome to always drop the child off and pick the child up if they choose to. Right. Your second part of your question. It was transportation and
we both I don't know. It went away.
That's okay.
But mostly, it's support for parents. The type of support that you'll have for
So we're hoping to partner and have some wraparound care, right? Okay. I can't guarantee that will be, because again, that we're looking to develop those partnerships with an organization who will come in and do that for us, and maybe provide some additional after school tutoring and support for the boys as well. So again, we're looking and interested in partnerships. So if anyone is interested out there, they absolutely can go to our website and fill out one of our Contact Us Now forms. And I have access to that email, as well as Dr. Johnson will get that information and be able to kind of forge those relationships. But we're absolutely looking to have that for our parents.
We know that, every kid likes to play games and sports and things like. Are you going to have some type of partnership with that? Where there might be some sports that'll be offered for the students, because I'm thinking boys, you got to keep them busy, that kind of stuff. So, have you put some thought into that?
So being kindergarten and first grade is a little different with the sports, right? Okay. There really is no category of sports. Like when you get into middle school, right, there's intramurals or things like that, and intramurals can also be at the younger grade level. But we are looking at how do we change and enhance their experience, especially when it comes to like gym and PE, physical education, right? Maybe doing something different than out of the norm. So who knows? Maybe we bring someone in who teaches them Tai Chi, or we bring someone in who, gives them different type of movement, or we bring someone in who does, maybe they coach football, but they're giving them some of that athletic sports background. And right, maybe we even partner with some of those Pop Warner and Vince Lombardi, some of those AAU athletic teams who are willing to come in and provide parent information for things that happen outside of school, right? So again, when you talk about partnerships, right, and what that looks like, because we know a lot of our students, when they are all of our students, as a student, when you're involved in an activity outside of school, it teaches you a lot more than just being involved in that sport, right? It teaches you organization, social skills, how to have good habits. So we want them at a young age to be involved in things, and again, have a connection with your school. Because when I grew up, if I did something, mom told this one, she told the coach, she told that one, and it was like everybody knew. So everybody helped hold me accountable. But it was great because then I knew that my village was all on the same page. Right? And we need to get back to that. It takes a village, because we cannot do this by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we are hoping to have those connections and build again some of those partnerships with different organizations so they can come in and offer those things for our boys.
Yeah, because when I was at the Child Care Center for Ribeiro, you know, thinking about kids and their physical development, you know, we were able to partner with the RIBA, which is the Rochester Latino Baseball League, and so they took our preschoolers, you know, so we try to get at least a team, right, at least 8 to 10 kids, and we sponsored them. You know, we had a grant that we were able to sponsor to pay for their uniform and things like that. So it didn't have to come from the parents' pocket.
Correct.
And, you know, and it was great. It was short-lived. We did it maybe like 3 years in a row. But you know, it was great to see the kids as that young. And it wasn't so much about them winning a game or anything like that. You know, it's just, again, the social and emotional piece of it, right? Being able to be a part of a team, you know, being able to learn how to overthrow and underthrow, which are physical developments that they need, you know, taking turns. I mean, all these things that you don't think about, but kids were learning while they were playing the baseball.
Supporting each other.
Right,
and, know,
exactly. And not just that, but I know of kids that, including my grandson, you know, that build very strong relationship with his teammates, and they're still friends, and he's already 9. So you know, so those type of things that that can really help, you know, children develop, because there's so much that goes into the sports. You know, it's not just winning the game, but the social part, you know, the physical development part, the discipline part, right? Because they had very strict rules. You know, you had to behave a certain way, and even if you lost, you still had to have good sportsmanship with the other team and things of that nature. You know, that done well, and this particular team had really good coaches that really foster that, you know, and it was beyond the game, right? It's beyond what they were doing, and things that they can apply for the rest of their lives.
And that brotherhood, right?
Yes.
That is huge. That's going to be kind of the foundation and, you know, some of the backbone of the things that we want for our boys.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, sometimes society teaches them to be adversaries. So much. Like, even what is healthy competition?
Right.
And what is good
you're going to lose.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of life. You're going to lose, and you got to be able to deal with that.
How do you handle that, right? And versus getting angry or lashing out. So we absolutely, again, want to be able to foster that, you know, for our boys, and being able to teach them what that looks like, healthy conversations, healthy disagreements. Everybody doesn't always agree.
Yeah.
And so how do you handle that when you don't?
Yeah, those conflict resolutions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I've talked to a lot of other people that have worked in charter schools, but I've never met anyone that's at this stage that you guys are still developing and working and recruiting and, you know, getting it all together. How challenging has that been? Like, what's that process, right? If someone that may be thinking of starting a school, what's that process, and what are some things they can look out for? and learn from your mistakes, because I'm sure there was some, right? Like, it's not all going to be perfect or anything like that. So tell us a little bit about that, because I've never met someone that is at this point, right, where they're still developing it.
Right. So the journey for me is definitely unique. And I'll say that because, full transparency, I actually started out as a board member for the school before transitioning and going through the process and becoming the CEO. So, you know, a lot of paperwork, a lot of how to figure things out, a lot of structures, where typically you walk into a school district and all of that's done for you, right? Human resources, you know, the professional development team, the curriculum instruction, like all of that is done for you.
Yeah.
Whereas right now we're it's Dr. Johnson, myself, along with, you know, Dr. Miller, you know, our board of trustees, our recruitment team that we have, definitely, you know, recruiting people who are interested to see this succeed and want to give you support where it's needed. So things are not always, you know, sunshine and roses, as they say.
Yeah.
But again, how do you learn from it? How do you work through it? How do you fix it? And how do you not make the same mistake again? Those are key pieces, right? And understanding and being able to take ownership and accountability and saying, okay, I didn't realize that. I'm new, help me understand, not being afraid to ask questions, right? Making sure if you're not sure who to talk to, figuring out who to talk to and getting the right people to talk to. I was going through emails this morning and someone was sending me an email and they were like, I want to make sure you're in the loop, right? Because again, I started out in one position and now I'm in another one. So catching those gaps and making sure things don't fall through the cracks too much, but getting on board and ahead of anything as it comes. So it definitely it's been a long process, but again, I've been telling people, it's all good stuff. It's a labor of love. So you're learning and you're figuring out how to do it and how to continue to do it better.
Financially, I know some of it will come from whatever district those children are from, but up to this point, how do you manage that, right? Financially, like your time, her time, how do you do that?
Oh, scheduling. Creating schedules, sometimes modifying the schedule, understanding that, things come up, right? Yeah. And you may have to shift.
And you may be doing some things for free.
You may be doing some things for free,
I
right?
imagine, right?
Seeking, grants and state funding, all of those things are huge and come into play. And those aren't the only things that allow a school to run. So you're right. There will be money that will come from the students who are enrolled in our building, but that's not the only thing that helps us.
And it's not enough.
And it's not enough.
Right.
So we're always looking for grants. So again, we're looking for, organizations and companies who are willing to donate. And it can be time, it can be materials, anything, right, is definitely always welcome and warranted. And I think, like you said, sometimes the biggest thing is figuring out what you can do with what you have and what someone is willing to offer. Okay. But so it definitely is not, starting a school is not cheap. It's not necessarily easy, but if you have the passion and that's what drives you, it can definitely be done.
Yeah. What are your thoughts for the future? Because you are planning to add a classroom, per year. You're starting with kindergarten and first grade, and then adding a second grade, and so on and so forth. We've seen a lot of charter school come and go. Like they start and then they're around for a couple of years and then they're gone. I think the only one that I know that has been, for over 25 years has been Eugenio Maria de Osso's charter school, which they started similar to you guys, and then every year added a grade, and they're already at 12th grade. In fact, they're getting ready to open their new building, because they kind of put all their 3 buildings in one campus. And that's exciting, right? It's exciting to see the longevity, the success that they've had, and it hasn't come without their challenges, but they've been around for 25 years. Not all charter schools can say that. Right. So what is your vision? Like, what is your plan? How are you seeing this? How are you going to make sure that you can be able to do that year per year? Do you have some projections and strategies of how that's going to happen?
So definitely leaning on support from those, and I've known Dr. Blackman for years, so I love her. So reaching out to those who've done this, right?
She actually got a book. I think it talks about like her work with that.
Right. Yeah. So, and actually I was in a meeting with her last week. So definitely leaning on people who've done this work, right? And those who can give you support and maybe answer questions. The plan, adding a grade till we get to 5th grade, right? That's our plan as of for right now. But in the future, right, we want to create a thriving environment of not only just academic excellence, but social excellence, right? Community pride, someplace that our community is proud and excited to say, oh no, we have you need to come see Green Tech Rochester, right? Where maybe, who knows, 3 or 4 years down the road, we're opening our doors for tours, right? And schools are coming to see what we do and how we do and why are we so successful in doing it. That's the vision, right? And to continue to grow. And again, I said our plan is to grow to 5th grade, but who knows, maybe in 5 or 6 years we may get to 5th grade and say, oh no, we need to keep going. But again, it's really going to be based on what how the community sees us, how we work together, and again, providing that academic excellence.
Yeah.
Students on and above grade level is our goal,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
don't want to we're not saying getting them to get there. No, we're going to get them there. We're going to keep them there and take them even higher.
Yeah. I think the continuity of care is important, right? And I think, I know that part of Eugenio Maria Dosu Charter School success has been that continuity of care, right? That they've been able to go to the same school, be around the same people, that kind of thing. Because again, continuity of care, and I know Head Start uses it for their infants and toddlers where, child is with that one. I mean, it's a little different, but once that baby goes into that teacher's classroom, that teacher follows that child. You may not be able to do something like that, but the fact that they're still in the same school with the same, CEO, principals, teachers, whatever, is really important. So, that's why I ask, what does your future look like?
Right.
What is your thought? Because I know those were her thoughts, but what are your thoughts, Dr. Jensen, about the continuity and the progress of the school?
I absolutely agree with taking focus on what's happening at the moment and how we can use what we're learning to build onto the next school year. My focus academically is to ensure that I'm an advocate for the teachers. Yes, our students absolutely matter, but who's teaching them? So we need to make sure that the same consistency we want to provide for our students, that we're providing that consistency for our teachers so that we can retain those teachers so that they can be those consistent faces for our students.
Yeah. That part is really important. Will these, boys and girls, I think about my granddaughter as she was navigated through, she's in college now, but, when she was in high school, what she wore was important, all these different things. I was like, oh my God, I went mostly to school in Puerto Rico, and actually I experienced elementary, junior high, and high school, and we always wore uniforms. And so it didn't matter. Nobody knew how rich you were, how poor you were. So are you guys considering uniforms? And tell us a little bit about that.
We are going to have uniforms.
Okay, good. I think it takes off like this whole level of competition and pressure and things of that nature that kids don't need.
Right. And our, right now, our main colors are green, green and black. Our boys will be in green or black polos. Okay. Color designation right now by grade, black or tan khakis, right? And we'll have, some options for them as far as sweaters and maybe fleece, quarters up fleece. But we definitely want to remove that pressure and, that comes with, or even the stigma that comes with what you have and what you don't have, right? Yeah. And I'll even go as far as to say, if anyone who will be listening and would love to support, like we want to set our boys up for success. We want them to be able to come in and provide some uniforms for our parents without them having to worry about that, even supplies. So if there's anyone who would love to help donate or supplies or even the funds to do so, please feel free to reach out, because that is a dream of ours, to be able to give our boys uniforms coming through the door so our parents don't have to worry about that. And not even just the first year, but if we could do it continuously, right? That consistency to give them the supplies that they need. So if parents are asking us for a school supply list, you don't need it. We have it. Right. Like everything they need.
Because those lists be crazy.
Listen.
Like what? Tissues, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So we want to be able to provide all of that for our parents walking through the door and they not have to worry about that piece. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. But yes, we are absolutely going to be uniform based, and we're excited to even, to see our little young men, in the polo shirts, and the khakis. And as they get older, who knows, we may incorporate ties and jackets
absolutely,
and things like that. Because again, in order to be the part, you have to grow up and understand what that part looks like.
Exactly. I through all my school years, I wore a uniform, and I thought it was like the greatest thing ever, because I didn't have to like wear my nice stuff to school, right? I could just wear the uniform and leave my stuff for Saturdays and Sundays, you know,
Right.
when I went to church or whatever. But it also takes a big pressure off of parents too, you know,
Absolutely.
and you don't go through things so fast.
Right.
And these are ages where they're growing,
Yes.
you know, so what may fit this year is definitely not going to fit the next year
Or the next month.
or the next month. Yeah, the next month, because that happened with my grandson. We were like, what? These pants are tight on you already, or high water on you
Right.
already? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
So it does. And then if you have, you know, it's all boys, and if you know, maybe the parents can donate you know, their clothes to another kid in another grade, and you know, so it can kind of work out. It could be a win-win for everybody. You know, tell me a little bit about your board, because I know you said you had a board. So who's on your board, and what kind of their background, you know, that they're bringing to the table?
Our board is a board of 9. I'm counting in my head.
Yeah.
And we have various backgrounds. We have some, you know, community advocates, of course. We have some with tech background, legal background, human service background, faith-based background. Our board is definitely, and we're in the process of building out that part of our website. So hopefully we'll have that information soon, so folks can go and actually see, right, who's on our board and read a little bit about them. But definitely, you want a board who comes with a variety of experience. I don't think we have, as I'm thinking, I don't think anyone. I think I was the educator. Nope, we do have someone for education. There were a couple of us. So once I transitioned,
you want somebody in finance.
We have somebody
kind of
in finance background. All of those things, because they bring that different perspective. And they can give you a perspective that, you know, you don't want everybody from education. You don't want everybody from
absolutely
finance.
Not. That's a big mistake.
That's a total mistake, right? But you want, and because even then, looking at it from their lens, they may see something that someone else missed. Right.
Exactly.
So you definitely want a board that has a wealth of knowledge and a wide variety of backgrounds.
Cool. So how can people enroll? Like, when will you be ready?
Oh, so they can go on now to Good Schools Rock to set up their account. So we work by lottery system. The lottery deadline is April 1st, and then the notification, the lottery will happen on the 8th. But we are encouraging parents to get in now, because one thing about the transportation piece that's huge that I've realized a lot of parents don't understand is that there's a deadline, right, for district's transportation, and you cannot wait for the lottery to fill out, say, oh, okay, now I got accepted to Green Tech. I need to go to my home district and apply for transportation, because you'll be past the deadline.
Oh, wow.
So on our application, we clearly stated to parents that part of this application, and I think I put a box that says you have to agree to, I'm going to go and apply for transportation with my district now. Because it doesn't hurt to do it ahead of time. If you don't come, then no hurt, no harm. But if you decide to, and it's past the deadline date, that brings about confusion and problems and concerns for parents. So I would tell all parents, no matter what school your child is, if you're in a charter school, apply for your transportation before the deadline. The deadline is April 1st. But they can go on now. Good Schools Rock. And like I said, if they need help navigating, they can come to our webpage. It'll take you to an Enroll Now button. Click that. It goes to Good Schools Rock. You can set up the account, and you could actually apply for Green Tech Rochester right now.
Okay, good. So by September, you expect to be up and running and ready.
Open the doors. We'll be opening doors in September. We'll have to invite you, Ms. Eda, when we have a grand ribbon cutting.
Yes, I want to be there.
We plan to hopefully. We will be, once we're in our building, we'll be having kind of like a grand opening and touring even before September. Before the summer even hits. So absolutely. And that way we can invite the community, and they can kind of come in and see the space, see where the boys will be, you know, where the learning would take place, and even as we grow and develop. So we invite you out to come.
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. You know, I think having an all boys school, you know, I don't know what that's like, right? Because I've never went to an all girls school, so I don't know what that might mean. But, you know, I'm just thinking about a lot of different things that I see already, you know, with my career as an early childhood person, and how important it is, especially for boys, right? the movement, for them to be able to move around, for them to be able to play, that whole physical development that they need. They say that a child with challenging behavior, any challenging behavior is a form of communication, so something's going on, right? If this child is acting out in some certain way, it's because something is going on.
Right.
And, to be able to concentrate just on boys, I think it might have some advantages to be able to get right to the root of the problem. So for me, that's exciting, right? Because where they may get lost in the cracks somewhere else, you guys are going to be super concentrated on the students that you're going to be serving and what their issues are and how can you support them and things of that nature, that is so important. When you got into this, like what were your first thoughts? Like, were you scared? Were you, because that's a big, to open a school and to be able to, say our hope is to add a grade every year. We have to recruit the students, we have to recruit the staff, we have to have a solid curriculum, we have to have all these partnerships. What was like your first thought? Like, who came up with the idea, first of all? And then like, you were like, okay, I'm it. How do I make this happen? Like, what was going through your mind when that happened?
So the idea came from Dr. Paul Miller.
Okay.
He originated with wanting to open up an all-boys elementary school here in Rochester. And when the first approach of sitting on the board, I was excited because I'm like, this is new. This is, this is going to be great. And we've been, colleagues and friends in education for years. So, definitely excited. And was going through the process and learning, even from the board perspective, right, was different. But again, something new, something Rochester doesn't have. So definitely on the cutting edge. When we got to the point where I transitioned to being the leader, still excited, scared, yes, right? Because you don't want to make mistakes that are detrimental, but also having to remember I'm human, right? So mistakes will come. Mistakes will come through the process in general as we're learning, and this is new. But being okay and giving myself grace to say that I am human. When I make mistakes, how do I fix it and correct it? Right? How do I work through it and how to navigate that gap so it doesn't happen again, especially if it's something I can control. And it is hard when it's not within your control because you're still trying to figure out, what little cracks you can fill to keep things from happening. So it definitely is exciting, as I get to every piece.
Like, oh my God, I did that.
Looking at the uniforms, like, and creating the logo. I was like,
right.
Working with our graphic designer, I was like, and he knows me very well. So he was like, okay, give me your ideas, right? I know you. So give me your ideas and let's start there. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. And this is what I want. What does it look like? And he would just send back designs. And, this is prior to Dr. Johnson. So Dr. Miller and I would be going back and forth. He'd be like, nope, yep, nope, yep. And so we got to a point and we were like, that's it. That is it. So what do we want our boys to represent, right? We want them to look at the logo and be proud and excited, right? So an eagle, right? One of the strongest birds and animals that there is, right? And a graduation cap, because that is your goal. That will be what you achieve, right? Now, after, like you said, after that, where are you going? Whether it's college or whether it's careers, right? But making sure that when you look at your logo, that you feel a sense of pride. So that for me, and again, exciting talking about the furniture. And I just remember, taking Dr. Johnson to kind of tour the space that we wanted to. And in my head thinking, I want this here and that there, and I'm showing her, it was just so much adrenaline. So those pieces, make the paperwork and the tedious job of, crossing every I and dotting every T, like those things are huge, but it's just that excitement of this is coming to fruition. And come September of 2026, we will open the doors of the first all-boys elementary charter school in Rochester. That alone is just your excitement.
Now, for my own clarity, we do have all-boys schools, but for older children,
yes.
right?
Middle and high school.
Middle and high school, but never. So this is what's unique and special about your school, that it is an elementary one.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking, wait a minute, I've seen boys with uniforms. Like I know, I don't know their names, but I know that I have seen them, right? I can't remember their names right now. But the uniqueness here is that it's elementary. So
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
never been an elementary school just for boys.
Nope.
Correct.
No, ma'am. We are the first.
Wow. Just think about the impact you guys are going to have on those little boys.
Yes.
That they're going to start from the beginning. Because I think, middle school and high school, I mean, it's great and I'm happy, but there's so much more that you could do at an elementary that by the time they get to that age group, you have some decent young men, right? Some good habits, and all that learning happens those first years, and still by the age of 7, they're still making those connections in their brains, right? They're still learning things. After that, it's kind of like, okay, it's pretty set, right?
Right.
So you still have some great opportunities to make some really big impact in these young men, before they get to a higher grade.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, and I congratulate you both for the effort and the time of putting the school together. I want to take a few minutes just to kind of summarize in Spanish.
Okay.
What we've talked about, because we kind of did everything in English, but just for our listeners, in case there are moms out there, right, looking for an all-boys school or maybe interested in your charter school so that they know about it. So, hemos estado hablando, ¿verdad?, con la doctora Richard y la doctora Johnson. Ellas son las personas que están creando en este momento una escuela única para niños de kinder y primer grado para varones nada más. Es la primera escuela que va a haber aquí en Rochester. Tenemos otras escuelas, pero son de niños con grado más alto. Es la primera escuela para niños de kinder y primer grado. Y ¿verdad? La visión que ellos tienen es que todos los años añaden un grado hasta que lleguen a 6º grado. La escuela obviamente va a ser completamente gratis para los estudiantes. Toda persona a través del condado de Monroe pueden aplicar. Ellos están escogiendo aplicaciones ahora. Ellos tienen una fecha de abril 1 para la transportación. So, si usted quiere, ¿verdad?, apuntar su niño en esa escuela, puede hacer la aplicación para apuntar el niño y también la aplicación para la transportación si es que su distrito ofrece transportación. ¿Verdad? La meta de ello es que los niños sean bien concentrados en lo que varones necesitan. Ellos van a tener personas en la comunidad que los van a estar apoyando para diferentes cosas que quizás los niños necesiten. So, what was the website again?
GreenTechRochester.com.
Okay, so GreenTechRochester.com es el website donde pueden ir para aplicar. De nuevo, esto es una escuela completamente para varones de grado kinder a primer grado. Es la primera escuela que van a tener de charter para esa edad. Hay otras escuelas, pero son para varones de más edad. Eso es la primera escuela. So, cualquier padre que esté interesado puede ir al website, buscar más información, aplicar para registrar su niño. Can you tell us the location where you're going to have the school so people know where you're going to be located?
We are waiting for approval, but we are looking to be located at 30 Hart Street.
Okay. And you're pretty confident that that's going to be approved. Yeah.
It's already in atmosphere.
Yeah, because, you think about it, we're in February, but September is right around the corner, right?
Right around the corner.
Then before you know it, it's there. So,
yes.
So la escuela va a estar en la 30 de la Hart Street, es donde ellos planifican abrir su escuela. Va a ser pequeña, ¿verdad? Más que 150 estudiantes, van a tener creo que 3 salones de kinder y 2 de primer grado. So no va a haber tampoco mucho espacio, so cualquier persona que esté interesado tienen que aplicar. Ahora, I was just saying, it's only going to be, 3 kindergartens and 2 first grade. So people that are interested really have to apply now.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
you think about 150 may be a lot, but in reality it's not.
It's not.
It's not. So you might have a lot of competition, you might have a lot of people wanting to apply, and like you said, it is a lottery, so they have to apply now.
Yes.
So es basado en lotería porque es una escuela de charter, so tú tienes que aplicar, pero escoger esa escuela como tu primer decisión de escuela y después hacer la loto, y entonces si cualificas y ganas en la loto, pues entonces puede el niño ir a la escuela. So I'm just reminding them about the lotto system, because some people don't realize that all charter schools, you gotta put in the lotto, and then you're picked from there. So make sure that if you want Green Tech to be the school, to put that one first on your list so that you can possibly get in. Anything else that you want to share before we close out that you think is important?
Just, we're excited. It's
hugely excited.
It's a lot happening,
Yeah.
but we look forward to serving the young men and the little boys in Rochester and the families and the community, right? Because when our students do great, the community does
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we're here to continue to manifest that. And, we can't wait to get the work started.
If anyone is interested in partnering with you, may have a service that they want to provide or whatever, do they also go to the website to contact you?
They can go to the website, or my email address is crichards@greentechrochester.com.
Okay.
But as well, that contact us form will get an email sent, and I have access to be able to get back to them as soon as possible.
And you're also recruiting for teachers. So anyone that might be interested in being part of this new initiative,
can send us their information, and that way, once we officially start the teacher recruitment season, we'll have information ahead of time to get started.
Yeah, cool. So thank you both for being here with us. I like to end the show by asking if there's a phrase or a saying that you grew up with that still resonates with you today. And I know, Dr. Richards, you said you had several, so share one with us.
So hopefully, I would love to share two. One was that you're never too old to learn, right? You're never too old to learn something new, to try something new. And that definitely has taught me, stayed with me during this process. But one of my newest phrases that is actually our vision for Green Tech Rochester is the standard is excellence today and tomorrow. And that's what we want for our boys.
I like that. What about you?
Mine is more so a frame of mind and knowing that your education is something that nobody can ever take away. Once you receive it. So we just really want to push that love for learning because that cannot be removed once it's ingrained.
Right. Yep.
It's yours.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. I teach a CDA class at REOC, for people that are looking to do early childhood. And that's what I tell them. Once you get the certificate, it follows you everywhere you go.
Yes.
And no one can take it away from you. And this knowledge, no one can take it away from you. So definitely, I like them both. Well, thank you again for being here. I hope that at some point you can come back and share your progress, or if you're looking to let people know like how's it going, you're welcome to come back at any time.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you having you here today. Gracias a todos por acompañarnos en esta mañana. Lo esperamos nuevamente el próximo sábado de 10 a 11 de la mañana en Poder 97.1 FM, la única estación radial latina con dueños y operados por latinos, por la comunidad, para la comunidad. Esto ha sido Su Hora Informativa, trayendo la información importante que nos inspira a una mejor calidad de vida. Que pasen una linda semana. Hasta la próxima, mi gente.